Hello and welcome. Quite recently, you may recall that Wes Streeting was briefed against. Whatever that really means. It's a euphemism, I suspect, for go back in a corner, shut up, don't even think about challenging Keir Starmer. Don't even dream about it. But these briefings, the sources, the friends of, who are these people? What does it all mean? Is it all just made up by journalists? Who could we believe? Should we believe any of it? Well, I came across this video by Rees Mogg, and I'm going to play you some clips of that video, link to the full video in the description to this one. I found it to be absolutely fascinating. Now, some of it you may say, well, yeah, that's what I thought. That's what I thought when I saw the video. But other parts of it, it just kind of then allowed me to put more of a, I suppose, a definitive framework around the information that we're being fed and what it ultimately means. So if you think that might be interesting, please join me. Now, I've highlighted this. The reputation of the correspondent is their gold ticket.
And the thing to remember is that the reputation of the political correspondents is their gold ticket. They never make things up. It's not to say they don't sometimes get the wrong end of the stick. Of course they do. It's not to say that sometimes they are told things that the people telling them know to be untrue, because...
So let's remember that. So sometimes the journalists are told things that aren't true. I don't think Rees Mogg is suggesting that that happens the majority of the time, but we've got to keep our wits about us.
Because the person telling them is spinning, but the political correspondents of the Times, the Guardian, yes, the Guardian, the Daily Mail, Sky News, the BBC, simply don't make things up. So where do these stories come from? How do you decode it to work out the level of seriousness, of credibility of the source?
I think that's a really good question. So when we hear these stories, how credible are they? How serious are they? But you would note that Rees Mogg has already mentioned some sources that are credible in the sense that there was a briefing, although that briefing, that information may be spin, which complicates things, but it's important for all of us to recognise that. And the journalist is very often just reporting it verbatim, but it isn't true at source.
What is a friend? Who is a friend? Who are the sources close to? Well, sometimes it will be the principal, him or herself.
So that, to me, is something that you may have suspected for a while. Maybe you know, I've certainly suspected it, but there we go. So sometimes the source is the person. Source is close to the Prime Minister. It's the Prime Minister.
Friends means somebody genuinely close to the person.
To try and summarise as we go along. Friends genuinely close to the person may be the actual person.
In political terms, if it's a minister, it usually means the special advisor.
So again, pausing there. So if we hear it's a minister, it's very often, usually the special advisor, the SPAD.
In my career, if my special advisors ever briefed people, they would do so with my specific authority. The principal knows that this is being done. Only on one occasion did I read that friends of mine had said something that I strongly disagreed with. It was actually a criticism of the then Chief Whip, who I worked very closely with, Mark Spencer, and was shocked that somebody was quoting me as being critical of him. And I spoke to my special advisors and said they must never allow criticisms of this kind to occur again, though they said it wasn't them, so I never found out who it was.
As far as Rees Mogg is concerned, one occasion that happened, once, when something was said to the press that he hadn't explicitly asked to be said, authorised. And then think about what we're hearing in terms of the Prime Minister and Morgan McSweeney. So, yeah, is he really that independent or AWOL or rogue? Or is this just a bit of a distancing that Keir Starmer's putting up to, well, for whatever reason? Or indeed, is Keir Starmer so focused on something else that what we have is, instead of Jacob Rees Mogg's experience one occasion, it's a lot of occasions?
Friends usually means somebody genuinely close to the minister, has access to the information, and who has been authorised to do it. Likewise, sources close to indicate somebody very close to the principal.
So, friends of, sources close to, genuinely close. Minister, as often as not, is the special advisor, the SPAD. Again, just to summarise that bit.
Doesn't mean that people's friends who they meet in the pub have picked this up. It doesn't mean that their great aunt has heard something and has rung up the newspapers. It means somebody within the professional arc of Whitehall giving the briefing.
So, the professional arc of Whitehall, I'm presuming he means an arc rather than the boat. Although maybe they are building a boat to rescue themselves whilst we flounder.
Likewise, when you read a cabinet minister has said, that will be a cabinet minister.
And now this little bit, I have to say this did make me laugh. Downing Street doesn't mean Larry the cat. Let me allow Jacob Rees Mogg to explain.
Now look at what's been happening last week, perhaps in a different light. When you hear that Downing Street says, that doesn't mean Larry the cat. That means somebody in Downing Street who is generally, if not specifically, authorised by the Prime Minister to speak on behalf of the government.
So it's somebody in Downing Street authorised by the Prime Minister to speak on behalf of the government. So this is the government speaking. It's authorised by the PM. I know you're waiting on me to say, but maybe it would be better if Larry the cat was in charge. Absolutely.